Hey, welcome to Financial Revelations. I am your host, David Safransky. You can always email me at david@epsf.com or questions to joshua@epsf.com, also right here. I am going to give you another website today that will be on the screen because we're going to answer a listener question today. And so let's get right to it. The question from a listener is, what are some of the questions you should ask when you're picking a financial advisor? And what are the red flags? So let's go. I have 5 questions that I think you should ask any financial advisor or anybody who is going to work with your money. Number 1, how long have you been in the business? Now, I don't need somebody who's been in the business for 30 years, but if you've only been in the business for 30 days, I think I want somebody else working along with you, kind of teaching you the ropes, giving you the lay of the land. So I want to give new people a chance, but I just don't want them cutting their eye teeth on me. So how long have you been in the business? The second thing that you should ask, especially somebody who's going to manage your money, is how do you get paid? This is where the fee versus commission discussion comes in. I have always thought that a fee-based business is better for the client, and it is better for the advisor in the long run too. Yes, the advisor will not get paid a lot upfront, and that's okay. But when you have a fee-based business, you don't spend the majority of your time out looking for new clients. You spend the majority of your time working with the clients you have, and that's where I want them to be. And also, as you do better, they do better. So it puts you on the same side of the table, and I like that relationship. The third question you should ask is, how often do we speak to each other? There's a saying that if you want to get rid of a salesman, buy something from him. You'll never see him again. That is not how it works in a fee-based business. In a fee-based business like we have and a lot of registered investment advisors have, client contact with your existing clients is really important. You're emailing, you're calling, you're sitting down for meetings, you're updating your finances, you're doing all these things. Does it need to be weekly? No. Does it need to be monthly? Probably not. If you sat down with your advisor 3 times a year or spoke to them 3 times a year, I think that's probably appropriate. And of course, if you wanted to sit down more and somebody's getting paid to work with you, they should allot for that. And it would be kind of a little bit of a red flag if they wouldn't. So it's really up to you as the client, but 3 times a year would be totally appropriate. And you can talk to them more often anyway. The fourth question that you should ask is, are you the person that is going to be managing my money? Because one of the things that I don't like in a lot of money management businesses, you talk to one person and then somebody else is implementing that strategy. And I want to talk to the person who is managing my money. That's the person I want to talk to. And so I want to know who is actually doing the heavy lifting here, or are you just a salesperson? So who is going to do that? And the fifth question that I want you to ask is, what happens if you suddenly assume room temperature? So you're working with an advisor, you get a call and says, hey, by the way, your advisor, they're no longer with us. They're dead. Who is going to take over for you? So one of the things that we've done is we have instituted an agreement with a firm that we researched, we like. They work very similar to what we do, although there's no perfect match. This is a really good match for us. And so if and when I assume room temperature, they will be the person that take over the account. And so if you wanted to stay, you could. So what about red flags? If you sat down with an advisor, what would the red flags be? Well, the first red flag would be if they have a lot of what we call regulatory disclosures. There's a website, it's BrokerCheckorg. It's going to be right here, BrokerCheck.org. You can go to that website. It's run by FINRA, a regulatory body that regulates people like me. And they'll tell you, this is how many times we've gone after that guy, or he's got some disclosure on his record, and you can even see what they are. So if there's a lot of those, now a lot of advisors will have some, and some of them are pretty minor. So I don't want you to just use that as, well, there's a regulatory disclosure. Find out what it is, maybe talk to them about it, get their side of the story. But regulatory disclosures are a big thing. The second thing that is a red flag is frequent company changes. So they're at one firm, and then a year later they're at another firm, and then 2 years later at another firm. So if you see a lot of these, very frequently, something is going on here. It used to be that they would allow people to resign in lieu of some kind of regulatory event. Well, they don't do that anymore. So, but if you see a lot of company movements in very short periods of time, something is going on. The third thing that you should ask is, do you have any bankruptcies? Now, that will be disclosed on BrokerCheck, but sometimes it gets missed. So if your financial person has a bankruptcy, find out why. They could have been involved in an outside business that went bad. So again, I want to get the rest of the story. It doesn't totally mean that they're bad or anything like that. But if they're going to work with finances and they have a bankruptcy, I'd like to know why. Number 4, numerous client complaints. And it's not about the color of the lines in the parking lot. It's going to be about the way that they were dealt with, the investments that were made. There could be a lot of things that people complain about, but if they have numerous client complaints, I also want to know why. What's going on here? Are they bad at customer service? Is their staff not welcoming and inviting, and thereby people don't want to pay attention to their finances? That can lead to customer complaints. You know, one thing, Corey and Alyssa that work here with us, they are the most pleasant people to deal with. I've never had a complaint about either one of them. And I know if I'm out of town, they're extremely trustworthy, and I know that they're taking care of people. So I've always really appreciated that about Corey and Alyssa. And I think you do too, because I get a lot of compliments about them. The number 5 red flag for an investment advisor is if they're just annuity-centric. So if you ask a question and the answer is always an annuity, I want to be very careful, because annuities can be very high commission products. They're very hard to get out of once you're in them. They're very restrictive in most cases with the investments that you can have. And it's been my experience that they promise a lot and they very rarely deliver to that level of the promise that they make. Occasionally they do. We have a few that they're trying to buy us out of right now. We will not buy out, because this is an annuity that was actually meeting and exceeding expectations. You can't buy it anymore, so don't ask me about it. But they constantly try and buy me out of these annuities, and we just won't do it. So annuity-centric advisors, annuities have a great place in the market, but it's a minute place. They were really developed as niche products. And then when insurance companies got a hold of them and they realized, wow, these things are real money makers, they got sold to everybody. So if you have some annuity, some guarantees, and then some non-guarantees like a brokerage account or a brokerage IRA where there's investments, I'm okay with that, but I don't want it to be 90% annuity and 10% non-guaranteed. The people that come to me and say, look, if I ever lose a dime of this money, I'm going to find out where you live and kick your dog. I'm going to encourage them to use an annuity, because they just can't handle the risk. And there are some annuities that really do handle risk very well, to where if the market goes up, you'll get a little bit of it, but if the market goes down, you get none of it. And that might be a good product for somebody who would kick my dog if they ever lost money, because quite frankly, I love my dogs. And if you kick my dog, my wife is going to be mad at me, and my dog will have been kicked. So those are the red flags that I would seriously consider when picking a financial advisor. The last thing, kind of bonus advice, would be don't be afraid to ask tough questions. This is your money. If you're a client of ours, I work for you. And if somebody makes you feel stupid or silly for asking a question, big red flag. Full stop, pump the brakes, slow your roll, because that person is trying to hide something. So if they make you feel silly for asking, I really have to consider twice about going with that person. But don't be afraid to put people on the spot a little bit. There's a lot at stake here. This is your wealth that we're talking about. And some people will come in and say, well, look, I don't have a lot of money, but it's 100% of what you have. So it's a lot to me. And that's the way an advisor should think about it. Once again, you could email us, david@epsf.com right here. But I would prefer that you email questions to joshua@epsf.com, because he's the organizer of the podcast. He makes everything roll and work. He just painted his new office. We're really excited for it. He even has a window. You know, for anybody who said I wasn't a nice guy, that disproves that right there. Thanks for listening. Look forward to seeing you guys next week.